Hitler's Wunderwaffe, could they have altered the course of the war? During World War II, Nazi Germany pursued various technologically advanced and experimental weapons collectively known as Wunderwaffe, or wonder weapons. These projects, which high-ranking Nazis believed could alter the course of the war, faced challenges such as resource shortages and technical difficulties. But would they have been able to turn the tide for Germany? Let's find out. These are Hitler's wonder weapons. 1. The Landkreuzer P-1000 Ratte. It was a design for a 1,000-ton tank, equipped with a twin-cannoned artillery battery resembling those on the battleship Scharnhorst. The proposed design featured armor protection of up to 25 centimeters thick and included multiple anti-air guns. The intention was to safeguard this substantial investment from potential threats posed by Allied bombers and ground attack aircraft. The Ratte was to be equipped with multiple submarine diesel engines in order to achieve a maximum speed of 40 kilometers per hour. It never left the drawing board, as Minister of Armaments Albert Speer realized there was no reasonable use of the tank. The project was canceled in 1943. Many other Nazi dignitaries and high-ranking officers opposed investing so many resources on this monster tank. Regarding the Ratte, General Heinz Guderian said, Hitler's fantasies sometimes shift into the gigantic. 2. Amerikabomber. The Amerikabomber Project was an initiative of the German Ministry of Aviation to obtain a long-range strategic bomber that would be capable of striking the United States from Germany, a round-trip distance of about 11,600 kilometers. According to Albert Speer, Adolf Hitler was fascinated with the idea of seeing New York City in flames. There were quite a few prototypes built, but the ones preferred by the Luftwaffe were the Focke-Wulf TA-400 and the Heinkel 277. Still, they were far away from serial production when the project was stopped in 1944, as Germany was in a dire situation, being heavily bombed itself. 3. Messerschmitt Me-262. This was the world's first operational jet-powered fighter plane. The aircraft became operational with the Luftwaffe in mid-1944 and was faster and more heavily armed than any Allied fighter. It was a versatile combat aircraft, also being capable of operating as a light bomber, reconnaissance plane, and night fighter. These planes were plagued by reliability problems, though, because of strategic material shortages and design compromises. Despite these shortcomings, German pilots operating the Me-262 shot down numerous Allied aircraft and had a kill-to-loss ratio of 4-to-1. Still, it had little effect on the war as it was introduced quite late, and although more than 1,400 Me-262s were produced, only around 300 actually went into combat. As from 1944 onwards, Germany's transportation infrastructure was badly damaged, and the Luftwaffe severely lacked pilots and fuel. 4. The Messerschmitt Me-163 Komet. This was the only operational rocket-powered fighter aircraft in history, as well as the first piloted aircraft to exceed 1,000 kilometers per hour in level flight. It was produced late in the war, as Germany suffered from the lack of capable aircraft to counter the Allied bomber threat. Although it had an extraordinary speed, it was capable of only 7.5 minutes of powered flight, and it was less effective in combat than predicted. About 370 of these aircraft were produced before the war ended. 5. Fritz X. The Fritz X was a German-guided glide bomb. It was the world's first precision-guided weapon deployed in combat. The device was released from a bomber and then guided by a radio control link, which sent signals to the movable spoilers in the vertical and horizontal tailfin surfaces. More than 1,400 of these glide bombs were built, and some were successfully used, for example, sinking the flagship of the Italian Navy, the battleship Roma, as the Italian fleet was attempting to surrender to the Allies. 6. Arado AR-234 Blitz. This was the world's first operational turbojet-powered bomber, seeing service during the final years of the Second World War. In addition to the original reconnaissance-orientated AR-234A, the fast bomber AR-234B model was developed. Due to a lack of internal space, it carried bomb loads of up to 1,500 kilograms on external racks. As it happened with the Me-262, the AR-234 suffered from numerous problems, ranging from inadequate and significantly lacking fuel to frequent engine flameouts. These fast bombers were used from August 1944 onwards, and even performed reconnaissance missions over the United Kingdom. Just over 200 were built until the end of the war, but few of these actually flew combat missions, as qualified personnel needed to operate them was scarce. 7. The Vergeltungswaffen, the V-weapons, known in German as Vergeltungswaffen, reprisal weapons, were a set of long-range weapons designed for bombing strategic targets, cities, but also industrial or military facilities. These were the V-1, the world's first cruise missile, powered by a pulse jet engine, the V-2, the first ballistic missile, and the first man-made object to reach outer space, and the V-3 cannon, which was a large-caliber gun, built in a tunnel in France and permanently aimed at London. The V-1 and V-2 were used from 1944 onwards, and were built in significant numbers. A total of 9,251 V-1 missiles and 1,115 V-2 rockets were fired towards Britain, and they inflicted significant damage to the civilian population. As they were not really accurate, these missiles would land haphazardly in the general area of their target. As such, they were used as more of a terror weapon than a strategic one. The V-3 cannon in France never got to fire towards Britain, as the Allies bombed the site on which it was built. Another one of these cannons, built in Germany, bombarded Luxembourg in the winter of 1944 without inflicting significant damage. 8. The Fliegerfaust. This was a German prototype of an unguided ground-to-air rocket launcher designed to destroy enemy ground attack planes. It was the first man-portable air defense system, a historical precursor to the modern Javelin, Stinger, and Strela systems. The Fliegerfaust was not a successful weapon, as it had a small, effective range. The dispersion of its projectiles proved to be too large, and the anticipated range of 500 meters was never achieved. Only 80 of these weapons were ever used in combat until the end of the war. 9. The Panzerkampfwagen 8, Maus. This was a German super-heavy tank, completed in late 1944. It is the heaviest fully enclosed armored fighting vehicle ever built. 5 of these were ordered, but only 2 hulls and 1 turret were completed before the testing grounds were captured by advancing Soviet military forces. It was 10.2 meters long, 3.7 meters wide, and 3.6 meters high, weighing an astounding 188 tons. It was armed with a 128mm gun, capable of destroying any Allied tank from more than 3,000 meters. Its armor was one of the thickest ever seen on a tank, ranging from 220mm on the turret front to 150mm in the rear of the hull. The vehicle was so heavy that it was unable to use most bridges. Instead, it was intended to ford to a depth of 2 meters or submerge up to a depth of 8 meters and use a snorkel to cross rivers. It also was seriously underpowered and would have suffered heavily from reliability issues. Still, it was never used in combat and would have probably proven quite impractical as an armored vehicle. With terrible mobility, a gigantic silhouette, and few small-caliber weapons, it would have probably been quickly taken out of action either by enemy aircraft or infantry, especially late in the war, when Germany completely lost its air superiority. 10. The H-class battleships. This was a series of battleship designs for the Kriegsmarine, which were intended to fulfill the requirements of the German naval rearmament program. There were 5 different designs which varied in size, from the H-39, which was 278 meters long on a displacement of 56,000 tons, to the H-44, at 345 meters in length, on a displacement of 131,000 tons. As the war started in 1939, the development was halted, and the 2 ships that were laid down were scrapped. If completed, these would have been some of the largest and most powerful warships ever built. In conclusion, we can definitely say one thing: the resources Germany allotted to its various impractical or ineffective projects could have been spent better, by producing some more war material that was proved to make a difference. Even though some of the projects mentioned were really good ideas and became very effective weapons, the sheer dispersion of funds and resources made sure that some of these designs would never be used in combat. And if they were, the hasty development made them full of technical issues. So in our opinion, the only way some of these projects could have turned the tide was if the Germans allocated much more significant resources to much fewer projects. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time at Conflicts Unveiled.